Sometimes life doesn't fall apart because love disappears. Sometimes it falls apart because pain speaks louder than love. Because one person becomes too consumed by a battle they cannot let go, while another grows tired of waiting to be seen. And by the time they both realize what they've lost, someone else has already walked into the empty space between them. This is the story of Detective Edward Lawson, a man who spent years chasing justice, only to discover that while he was hunting criminals, his own family was quietly slipping away. It is the story of Mirabel Lawson, a woman who once believed she'd married the love of her life until loneliness whispered promises that sounded like happiness. It is the story of Anthony Reynolds, the man who looked perfect from a distance until reality revealed that appearances often hide uncomfortable truths. And finally, Jessica Harper, the woman who met a broken man, not before tragedy, but after it. Some stories end with forgiveness, others end with revenge. This one ends with regret, because sometimes the greatest mistake isn't choosing the wrong person, it's giving up on the right one too soon.
Before everything fell apart, 6 years earlier, the summer sun poured through the windows of a modest apartment, and laughter echoed from the kitchen. "You're cheating," Mirabel said, smiling. Edward laughed, flipping a pancake. "I'm a detective. We don't cheat." Mirabel folded her arms. "You've made 6 pancakes, but you've only put blueberries in yours." Edward pretended to think. "That's called evidence." "No," she said, rolling her eyes. "That's called selfish." He kissed her forehead. "If you wanted blueberries, all you had to do was ask." "I shouldn't have to ask," she laughed. "You married a detective," he replied. "Asking questions comes with the job." Moments like these were ordinary, but years later, Edward would spend countless nights wishing he could relive ordinary. Their 12-year-old son, Ethan, came running down the hallway, wearing a basketball jersey far too big for him. "Dad, Coach said if I score 20 points today, I start next game." Edward crouched, adjusting the jersey. 20? I thought you were aiming for 30. Edward smiled. That was his boy. Mirabel watched them from across the room. She often joked that she had 2 children instead of 1. Edward wasn't simply Ethan's father. He was his hero. Whenever Edward had a free day, he attended every practice, every event, every picnic. The badge on his chest never mattered more than the people waiting for him at home. At least, back then. Edward had always dreamed of being a detective. Not because of the badge or the respect, but because when he was 14, his father was murdered during a robbery. The killers were never found. He promised himself that one day he would become the detective he wished his family had. Years later, he kept that promise. He was patient, calm, and relentless. His colleagues admired him. His chief often joked, "If Edward says a suspect is guilty, save yourself the paperwork." "Morning, boss," a cheerful voice interrupted his thoughts. Detective Daniel Carter, fresh out of training, caught up with him, carrying 2 coffees. "I got your usual," Daniel said. "I didn't ask," Edward replied, though he took the cup. "I know," Daniel grinned. Daniel was young, full of energy, and armed with an endless supply of bad jokes. Edward had taken him under his wing. "Guess what?" Daniel asked. "What?" Edward sighed. "I'm finally taking Claire to dinner tonight. I'm proposing!" Edward stopped walking. For real? Daniel showed him the small velvet box. Edward smiled. She's going to say yes. You think? I know. Daniel grinned. You better not get us called out tonight. Edward laughed. I'll see what I can do. Neither man realized they were having the last ordinary conversation they would ever share.
At exactly 11:43 a.m., the radio came alive. All available units, armed suspects, jewelry store robbery, shots fired, civilians trapped inside. The precinct froze. Edward grabbed his jacket. Daniel was already beside him. Let's go. As they sprinted towards their car, neither of them knew that before the day ended, only one detective would make it home.